welcome everybody. This is Wargamer Sean. I wanted to give you a quick presentation today. We did a team tournament at my local group, our league that we do. We were doing a team Adepticon primer. So for those of you who don't know, Adepticon is one of the biggest, maybe the biggest, like 40K tournament. It's got other games too, but mainly like strategic game stuff, not really a lot of like role playing, that sort of thing. But it started out mainly as a 40K event, but it's got War Machine and X-Wing and lots of other games now, Battletech. Anyway, their big kind of event is on Saturday and Sunday, and it's a team tournament. You play 3 games on Saturday and 2 games on Sunday, and you have four team members in each game. The first 3 games, they rotate, so you're teamed up with one of your opponents, and it rotates each of the 3 games. And then the second day, the team captain decides who's going to team up. So you're basically going to have 3 of your kind of ideal matches where you've kind of built another team member to kind of complement you perfectly. And then the other 2 team members, they may work the same, although most of the time they're going to be different slightly, so they may not be optimal for you to play. So this year we're going to do Dark Eldar and Eldar. I was hoping to do Harlequins, but they kind of came out a little late, and so next year. Anyway, so today we had a practice game. I played with my partner Monty, and he played Eldar, and I played Dark Eldar, and went pretty well. We got second place overall out of 12 teams, so not a ton of people, or not a ton of teams, like 24 people, but it was a lot of fun, and it was a really good practice to see how the Maelstrom cards worked, because they're going to be a big part of Adepticon team tournament, and I think our army does a pretty good job of working with it, and our 2 armies kind of complement each other pretty well. He has a lot of stuff that's capable of dealing with armor, and obviously my stuff, being Dark Eldar, deals more with high toughness and toughness things, because we have a lot of poison shots. So worked pretty well. We usually, all 3 games we played, we ended up having his basically HQ be the warlord, because he had the Mantle of the Laughing God, so he really kind of tried to keep him hidden and keep him alive, whereas my Archon basically just went in and tried to kill things, and it didn't really matter if he died, because he wasn't going to give up Warlord. He did a really good job. The first game, he ended up he kind of deep struck in a raider with some fire dragons, so his main thing was to kind of bring them in to do stuff, but the fire dragons got killed pretty quickly. He ended up getting locked in combat and killing a squad of death marks, and then spiders charged in on him, and eventually a squad of scarabs charged in on him, and by the time the game ended, he actually killed all the spiders, and he was working on the scarabs. But there's so many scarabs, he would have never gotten through them, through the game, regardless. But he did a lot of work. He never failed any saves, so he stayed alive, luckily. Now, my second game, his transport blew up, and the very first, they had to randomly allocate wounds. The very first wound I rolled a 1, and so he lost his shadow field right away. It seems to be hit or miss with him. He either does really well, or he just freaking dies right away. But he ended up dying like a punk, because some Terminators charged him. So he didn't do a lot that game. He just delivered his cargo. But the third game, he did pretty well too. He kind of ended up going off on his own. He dropped in with the fire dragons, but ended up splitting off and he took out a squad of Dire Avengers by himself, and went to take on some smaller squads just to get rid of them. So he did a lot of work on his own. So I was pretty happy with him. The Man of the Laughing God, I'd kind of gone away from him. We put him on an Otark on a bike and with a power lance, and I think that's pretty much all we gave him. I think we gave him anything else, but he really did a good job. And the reason why I say this is that he's fast because he's on a bike, and there are some cards where the warlord had to be within 6 inches of the middle of the board, or 12 inches of an opponent's table edge. And what was nice about it is he really tried to stay away. He did some things where he did a few things where he attacked things and killed some things, but his biggest job was really just to stay alive. And he's so wicked fast on the bikes that he basically was able to go a lot of places. And in the third game, the Adepticon has these twists of fate. It's a token of fate. It's something they've always done since the beginning of the team tournament. It used to be where you could use a token once per game and use a token, and you could get a reroll a save or some crucial thing to try to save them. They've changed it now this year where you can actually use it to affect Maelstrom cards, or in each mission they can be a little different. Like in the last mission we played, you could use a token and assign it to one of your units, and that unit, when it scored a Maelstrom card, if it scored it, it got an extra victory point for every card it scored. So we put it on the Man of the Laughing God, and he is just a workhorse because he was just going all over the place scoring stuff, and then you get an extra point for it. So now the drawback with using the Twist of Fate is that when you use the Twist of Fate, you give your opponent 1 point for using a Twist of Fate. So you kind of have to, if you're using a Twist of Fate, it's got to either be really crucial, or you got to figure you're going to get more of an investment on your return. So like our last game, we lost a point, but he gained like so many points back from what he did that he paid for that point we gave the opponent. So anyway, I don't mean to kind of ramble. I'm kind of already doing it, but I was pretty excited about it, and we faced a few different things. The first list we faced was 2 Necron players. It was a pretty good list, and it had a lot of scarabs and spiders and wraiths, and it was a tough one. And so by the end we took out 1 squad of scarabs that had been pumped up incredibly, and 1 unit of spiders. We had done some wounds to another group of spiders, and then we took out the wraiths, but it took a lot, and had whittled down a lot of the other forces. But it was a tough game. The second game we played against was 2 space wolf armies, and we did really well on that one. And that one was to getting table quarters and objectives. It wasn't Maelstrom at all. And we actually, by the time the game, we ended up running out of time, but by the time the game ended, the opponent had 1 flyer on the board, and everything else was gone. So we did really well. We did max points on that. They had a drop pod left too. Sorry, an objective secured drop pod. So we did really well there. The last game we played against an Orc and an Eldar player, and so it was kind of the battle of what I think what did the most work was it was kind of a battle. They had a couple of the Orc big guns that could hit flyers or skimmers at normal ballistic skill, and that did a lot of work against our wave serpents, and their wave serpents did a lot of work against our wave serpents. So they ended up, by the end of the game, we had 1 wave serpent left, and they had 2, but they had started with 3, and we just didn't have as good. We lost a lot our first turn because they had first turn, and which we gave to them. That was our mistake. We thought it would be better because they had really hidden stuff well, and we thought we had our stuff hidden well, but we didn't. And we gave up first blood. I lost a Venom, which Venoms are pretty easy to kill. The things that did work today, the Man of the Laughing God was a workhorse. The Archon did pretty good. I will say I took a Lamians with a Venom, and I was mainly taking him for an extra venom, but I also kind of had him as, the way I looked at them is, they were 40 points because I only took 4, so if I wanted to put the Archon in there I could. But the way I looked at them is, they mainly were there for the shooting venom, but the way I like to use them is I had them, and I could keep them in the backfield to use as kind of an assaulty unit because they wound on 2-ups, because I took up 2-up poisons. Or I could use them to go after something that was high toughness that I could attack or assault. And so I was happy with them. I lost them in my first game, but they did some work before they got lost. They had a really bad first assault roll and ran back, but then they regathered and went into the wraiths. And they finished them off. So they did a good job. The second game, I didn't lose any. The third game, they made a difference and really kind of took this huge, like, 30-man blob of orcs with Mad Doc, Grotznik, and somebody else in there with them. But we whittled them down, and they went in and were able to, just because of the assault and the 2-up poison, were able to do 6 wounds, which with 6-up, they had feel no pain, but with a 6-up t-shirt save, they did a lot of wounds. We had whittled them down first, did a lot of wounds to really help kind of turn the tide on that battle. So I was really happy with them. I think if you use them right, I think they're actually pretty good. And they have splinter pistols too, so they can do some shooting, which I did use them for too, but they were mainly there for like a little assault units or to try to tie stuff up. The other unit I was happy with, and I wouldn't say they're for everybody, I had a Scalpel Squadron, which is 2 units of Racks and Venoms, and they drop in turn 1. Now, I kind of had taken this because we have an Otark and we have them. If we had to null deploy, we could do it. If we were facing a bunch of drop pods, we could have nothing on the board and have them drop in turn 1, so the drop pods wouldn't have anything to necessarily go after. Or if we did drop in first, hopefully survive round 1 from the drop pods and come in turn 2. And we never faced our second game against the Space Wolves. There were 3 drop pods, but 1 had a Dreadnought in it, and 2 had the standard troops, and I'm sorry, I'm blanking. They had a melt and a commie melt in it, so it didn't have a ton of like stuff in it, and so we actually didn't null deploy, and so that didn't come handy. But what did come in handy was I was able to deep strike them in and go at something, even if something was kind of hidden. And what they did do in the first game, one of the squads tied up a unit of Immortals pretty much the whole game. Like, they were they're tied up in combat for pretty much the whole game. I was down to like 3 racks out of 5, and they're fearless after turn 1. So turn 2 they become fearless because of their part of the homunculi covens. And so that really helped. And my other squad killed a unit of Death Marks and then went into another squad of Immortals and was there till the end of the game. And so they're kind of resilient to dying, which is good. My second game, one of them actually just kind of ended up taking an objective and just kind of camping at it because they got shot up and they were down to a couple guys. And I just kind of put him in ruins and camped on an objective. But the other squad actually took out a squad of the wolf claws and kind of helped me get rid of one of the last squads on the board. So they did some work too, and they kind of followed along a wave serpent to take a quarter and also provide some poison shots, but also provide some protection. So he actually went after the wave serpent, didn't kill it, and moved out of the way. My racks got out, assaulted them after they shot him up, softened him up a little bit first. And so they did a really good job, and I was really happy with them. So I'm pretty happy with my Eldar Dark Eldar and Eldar, the lists that we have. So I think they went pretty well. They just thought I would kind of talk it over with you guys and share it with you. I'll have a picture and I'll put up that shows our army that was on display. I forgot my display board because I was bringing a bunch of stuff, kind of helping run the tournament. Help organize it, and so I forgot my display board, and so it's just on the board. But I still have a few things to finish painting, so it's not quite completely painted as I'd like it to be. They all have 3-color minimum, but they need some work. I will say one thing. Racks are a huge pain in the behind to paint. That's all. They are really a pain. There's so many little crevices and bony little spines and spicules. They're a real big pain in the arse to paint. And I need to paint more, but this is like the first 10 that I actually painted because I don't use racks a ton. And I don't know how fast I'll be painting the other ones because, man, they're not fun. But I was happy with how they worked and pleased how they worked. Any comments or anything, share below. Any questions, share below. Hopefully this video was fun or educational, and we'll chat you later. Keep on gaming.
Goodbye. 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 Bye-bye. Goodbye. See ya. Bye for now. Bye for now. Goodbye. I like bottoms.